This is an official presentation of Sport Fishing Championship.
Kick off the first day of this Bay Point Billfish Open presented by Legendary Marine. We're in the beautiful city of Panama City Beach, Florida. Point South Marina, they took off at 10 o'clock this morning. And this is the Emerald Coast. You can see why, and there are a ton of boats out there on the water fishing right now. I think somewhere close to 90 boats took off this morning in a shotgun start. Yeah, the bigs are out there. Some up to like 90 feet in length, but we know that they're in search of blue marlin. We've got sailfish possibilities, white marlin possibilities as well. But either way, we're glad you can be a part of it here on ESPN. I'm Robbie Floyd. He's a man with all the billfish knowledge. Peter Miller, been doing this a long time. A tournament or two or 10 to his credit as well. We're glad you could be here. PD, it's the first day of 3. I know it's a little bit of a late start, a little different than what we saw, say, at Gulfport when they start fishing at midnight. Here, they don't get to start until 10. Changes some of your strategy on day 1, doesn't it?
Robbie, we forgot to do our fist bump before the show started. That's kind of a thing we do. Nobody ever sees it, but we forgot, and here we are, we're doing it. But yeah, the strategies are finding that good water. You know, you have to really get out there. You got to do your homework. We talk about it all the time. Doing your homework, rigging all your baits, rigging everything you can. Have it done before you get there. You may run only 2 hours. You may run 4 to 5 hours to get to that good water. You know, you're going from that green, nasty, funky water to try to find that blue water, but you can't just stop when you hit the blue water. It has to be a proven area. You have to be marking fish, so that's very important. But we're excited because we're typically going to find some big fish in the area, Robbie.
Well, there's a lot of possibilities out there. We saw that at Gulfport, the Gulf Coast Cowboys taking the title there, and looking back at what they did, pretty exceptional, because I think there were 11 blue marlin caught. Gulf Coast Cowboys caught 6 of the 11, so they caught more than 50% of the field with blue marlin taking that title. They had one of those events that there was no stopping.
And they had the hum. They had the hum, and they actually said, you know, that not only that, but they had actually a weird sound coming from the boat that they didn't care for. But hey, it raised the fish. There's BK getting stoked. Big fish.
Yeah, they were into some big fish and taking that Citizen Trophy at the end of the day. As will a team this week in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Watch his hat catch, Robbie. Watch his hat catch right here. Oh, you missed it, but we'll show it later. They win and they catch a hat that's about to go overboard simultaneously. Look at that.
$100,000 being presented. And again, this isn't just about one event like we saw in Gulfport, Mississippi. This is a season-long hunt. Clubs will be jockeying for position all season long in the playoff hunt presented by Exotic. Here are your Gulf Division standings after 2 of 6 tournaments on the schedule. Only the top 2 teams, Peter, qualify for the Zane and Grey Championship playoffs in October. So you need to start turning it around right now if you're the West Florida Black Flags, Louisiana Canyons. There's still time. We're a third of the way through, but after this event, we'll be at that halfway point. So you want to be positioned somewhere close to the top 2. You know who our number 1 is? Rudy Tamarchio. He's always on site at wherever we are, and he's always working hard. He's been busy this morning, been busy this week with Media Day as well. But Rudy, one thing I know right off the bat that we're going to be talking about is one of our 6 teams not able to go out like the rest, or at least they took off, but they had to come back.
Yeah, I think there was a bad omen this morning when it came to the shotgun start, because there was supposed to be a flyover featuring 3 fighter jets, 3 F-22s. We hear over the VHF that actually only 2 made it out because it was a bird strike. Well, after that happened, well, bird strike to the jet, they had to go back, fly to base, make sure everything was okay. Then you have boats coming back in. So yes, the Gulf Coast Cowboys being the one that you guys saw. If you watched over on Social Hour on YouTube, prop issues with them, hit something on the way out, a bent prop that's getting worked on right now. We've seen several boats as part of the larger field that have also made their way back to the marina, so it's not a unique problem just to them. There's something in the water, literally and figuratively right now off of Panama City Beach.
I know a lot of floating debris could be an issue. If you were closer to Louisiana or that Mississippi Delta, you would think that would be a problem. Do they have any idea what they hit? Because, I mean, looking at that prop, they hit something hard for sure.
Definitely. I don't think they have an idea of what it is just yet. I mean, we saw this happen last year as well when it came to our next stop will be over in Port Aransas. When we were there last year for a different tournament with Spencer Johnson, the Lone Stars, they bent a prop as well. But the unfortunate thing for them was they were well offshore and they had a shorter time to fish too. So they just need to grin and bear it for the couple of days. Here, at least it was right outside the marina so they can come right back in.
Yeah, that was a blessing, a curse and a blessing in disguise to be able to turn around and come back. So we're seeing footage of them taking the wheel, a prop back over that bridge back to the dock. Now, we haven't seen much other than a camera angle of the diver doing something. Did they find a new set of props or a single prop? Are they trying to fix this prop? What's the deal?
So I've been speaking with Jordan Benefield, who went over with the prop to the shop. They're about 30 minutes away from the marina. They're going to have that thing manually fixed themselves. They don't have a replacement prop, so they probably have to grind a little bit, do a couple of bits of, blacksmithery, basically, if you're going to be going with an older term. But yes, they're going to be doing some metal work to get that prop in good shape to run out. They're hoping to make it out by the evening. But one thing about this Gulf division that you've seen year after year, it doesn't matter if you run in peak fishing season, if you run a little bit too early like we did last year with our schedule, there's always issues with boats. So this is the first one that we're seeing with the Gulf Coast Cowboys, but they were in the yard earlier this week with really half of the fleet of our 6 boats in the Gulf Division. It was them. It was the Mississippi Blues and their boat Homemade, which you remember having lots of issues just getting into the water from their long refit before the Gulfport Mississippi Open. And then we also saw Louisiana Canyons because we talked about their issues with their cutlass bearing. They're out there and running right now. So as of out of the 3, there's one that still has a couple of issues to deal with.
Yeah, that was literally what I was going to ask you again. But if you were going to break down, it's probably the best place that you can do it, right? I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. I know having half your field's not ideal, to be out of the water, but at least you're in a facility, in a place. I know Legendary Marine, our title sponsor here, but this area, they can get it done.
Absolutely. I mean, these 2 areas of the Gulf, I mean, when you go back to thinking of the Bay Point Billfish Open, you have to go back to think about the Bay Point Billfish Invitational, which was from the early 80s up until the 2010s. That was the first major tournament of the Gulf where you saw fields of over 60, 70 boats. Now that it's back, it's bigger than ever. And if you're not having issues outside of Panama City Beach, the other place where they all were was in Orange Beach, Alabama. Those are your 2 centers of really having a lot of service and maintenance across this fleet that goes out and fish these tournaments. So really no better place to be.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rudy T, on the scoop there. If you find out more, again, stay with us on the prop. If they get that one fixed or a solution, please let us know.
We'll break in with you as soon as we have a moment. Hopefully he gets back here soon.
Thanks a lot, Rudy Tamarchio on the scene. Scoops McGillicuddy, what does it take to take the title here? Well, it is a 3-day tournament, PD, Thursday to Saturday, a little different as far as the days, but that boundary, there is no boundary.
None.
I like that.
The world is your oyster.
Yeah, they started this morning at 10 o'clock. They don't have to return until 8. I know we're off air about 4 hours before then, so if they know the score when we go off air, we can't crown the champion. We can say they're in the lead, but they won't be able to crown. So you need to follow us on sportfishingchampionship.com and find out who does take the title here at the Bay Point Billfish Open. One thing we do know is Chloe Turner always has a scoop on the weather conditions. What's it going to be like today and this week down in Panama City Beach?
We're in Panama City Beach today, the easternmost stop of the Gulf Blue Marlin season, and that means that this is the longest run offshore that these teams are going to be making all year. Now, this line is a 300-mile marker, and the biggest storyline today is a Mississippi River runoff. Heavy rainfall has pushed additional green or dirty water farther south and east, covering some of the rigs closest to Panama City. Now, over here towards Mississippi is a pretty concentrated area of dirty water, so they're going to have to go way out here if they want to get to these rigs. And that's going to leave our captains today with a pretty big decision to make. Are they going to want to start fishing closer to Panama City or burn more fuel, making a longer run west in search of that cleaner blue water? Now, there is no boundary in this tournament, which is interesting. So these boats are going to be carrying a lot of extra fuel as they head towards the deep water canyons and oil rigs. Offshore water temperatures are running between 82 to 86 degrees, with a few pockets approaching 87 to 88 farther south. Now, as you can see out here in the Gulf, there's some pretty large eddies forming and several temperature breaks and current edges, and that could help concentrate bait and game fish in those areas. Wind looks favorable at 5 to 10 knots today, occasionally reaching 10 to 14 later in the day. So we'll see how these conditions affect tournament day 1. Now back to you, Robbie and Peter.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, a lot of things to look at in that picture. Thanks, Chloe. And
Chloe.
whoa, the boat's on the run. I can't think. I can't remember who sang that song, but a lot of them are flying out there. Some are still trying to get to their spot and try and catch a sailfish worth 75 points like the Lone Stars did. The Bay Point Billfish Open is sponsored by Legendary Marine, Citizen, official timing partner of SFC, Guidesley, Hook, official jersey and performance apparel partner of SFC. Do not like seeing that sarcasm on the shores there, but I do like seeing a sweet shotgun start like we saw this morning at 10 a.m. They all took off, a mass exodus.
That's right.
All right, let's get ready to go, guys. We got a minute inside of a minute. Good luck to everybody. We're going to start a countdown here right now. All right, the Bay Point Billfish Open is getting ready to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, 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 go.
Shotgun starts before. There were a lot of money on the line right there going, and the ocean's one thing dealing with it and running that hard, that fast, but when you've got 80-something other boats next to you, that's when the pucker factor raises a little.
I've been in a lot of shotgun starts, Robbie, but that particular shotgun start was super spread out. It was like they all picked their own lane. It was 80 lanes, 80-something lanes, and I really like that. And everyone, you don't have to get out of the way of anybody,
right? And
you just punch it. You know, it was gradual build-ups. It wasn't black smoke everywhere, and it was a nice, really pretty, and very organic, imagery. You know, you could see the Legendary Marine through the two buildings. I was like, ooh, that was nice. And then you see, it's like, hey, strap in, guys. And then you see a big tank on the bow of the Sportfish strapped in. All these little things that really came to life here.
Fuel ballast for some of our teams out there because they're looking forward to that long run. But you know, you got to have a plan. You got to have those keys to success, Peter. And I know you're not at the big board today, but what would it take to do well, not only today, but the next 2 days after?
Well, you know, Robbie, we talk about backups for your backups, you know, and when I do these keys for success, it's the day before, so I don't know anything that's happening.
Wait
we
for
talk
today.
I know, we talk about the backups for your backups. You know, you always want to have a set of spare props, but when you buy a new boat like that and you're winning tournaments, you're racing all over the place, thousands of miles over the course of, 4 or 5 days, you don't always have everything you need. You know, you got to get it in shape, you got to tune it up, but they did catch a lot of fish, so have backups for your pumps, props, spools, lines, reels, electrical outlets, fuses, you name it. I mean, so many things that can happen out there. And then rig copious amounts of baits and teaser baits.
Okay.
You know, you don't know what's gonna happen. You may be going all live bait, but the guys next to you, they're trolling mackerel and they're getting the baits on these mackerel. And you also want your teaser baits rigged, obviously with no hooks, and you want those ready to go so you can change them out in case it's really rough out there, and you want them to be looking really good. So you wanna have everything done before you get there. Do the homework, locate clean water, but also find the right water. I spoke about it today. You can race out there, get past that funky green water that's coming out of the Mississippi River, out of Louisiana, and you've got to run really far, but it's not like you can stop when you find that blue water. You have to find blue water that is gonna produce. So you wanna find bait, you wanna find, you know, things on your transducer, you wanna be able to see these things on your sonar, and you want to be able to catch bait as well. So you have a lot of things you need to deal with. So homework, and locate that clean water, and you should be off to the races.
And a lot of our teams are racing out to their fishing grounds. Again, it's quite a haul. I didn't really, and I know this is our 5th year covering for Sport Fishing Championship, and you just think that there are platforms and rigs throughout the Gulf of America. That's not the case. When you're at Panama City Beach, you have to go fairly west to get back into those platforms, and all platforms aren't created equal. You've got ones, like you said, that are the right places to be at the time, and if the situations aren't there, then, you know, that's not the place to be.
And and then again, you have some platforms that don't really produce.
At all,
It's
yeah.
known for bait. It's known for doing something else. Maybe you're gonna get tunas at this one particular one. But then you know the ones that are always gonna have fish around it, they're very consistent. And some of the guys that work on these rigs actually get paid to give reports of fish cruising in the area. Hey, there's an 800-pounder with a male. The female is usually always the big one. 800-pounder female, and there's a 400-pound or 300-pound male cruising with. They've been here for 3 days feeding. So come to this rig, you might find them there. So we'll see right here on the 6 box, we've got 3 boats fishing: the Renegades, the Lone Stars, and the Black Flags. They're all trolling right now, and then we have Louisiana Canyons and the Mississippi Blues, Hall and Butt, trying to get their spot, and the Cowboys still working on that prop.
One of the keys to success that you didn't mention, I was like, I wanted to give you, because I thought it would be a key, is with a late start, it plays into the Cowboys' favor, or excuse me, the Texas Lone Stars' favor. Having that late start, fishing a little closer, something that they may like to do. I think if you get a hole shot, if you get a head start, get a few sailfish before they even get out to their fishing grounds, and then if you want to go platform tomorrow, you do that running at night, right? You catching that bait at night.
That's in a perfect world, yes. You know, I mean, you definitely would like to get up on the board, draw first blood, make people second guess what they're doing. When you're running for 5 hours and somebody's got 1 or 2 or 3 sailfish,
yeah,
like, oh man, I wish we would have stopped short and gotten a few. But a lot of them are gonna follow their game plan, and they know when it comes down to it, they'll blue marlin or what's gonna take them to the top of the leaderboard and also put them in the money. I think some of the Calcuttas, if you go across the board in some of these, it's like 25 grand to enter into these bets, many side bets, you know, the first, second, third, overall heaviest, you know, there's so many divisions, and also there's the funfish divisions. But, you know, honestly, getting a sailfish is fantastic, and then you can race out to the grounds, especially if you find that someone's getting them out there. But if they're not, you know, maybe stick with where you are, because where there's sailfish, there's bait. Where there's bait, there's gonna be white marlin, there's gonna be blue marlin. But typically you wanna get out to that deeper water, you wanna make that longer run, and maybe troll those live baits, buy the rigs, and do what you do best.
What was interesting at the last stop at Gulfport, Mississippi, we saw several blue marlin, but then all of a sudden a white would show up. A sail would show up, all around the same bait. But again, they're all looking for the blue marlin worth 450 points. And that's why they're making those longer runs out into the Gulf of America. We've got one leader, that's the Texas Lone Stars, and they're fishing right now, one of our 3 of 6 teams.
Oh my. Oh my.
Welcome back to the 4th annual Bay Point Billfish Open. They were doing it back in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. A hurricane kind of tore things up, but they're back at it once again. And and we're glad to be a part of it here on Sport Fishing Championship, our third stop of 6 of the Gulf Division. Well, we had a meeting today a couple of days ago in preparation for heading out to the waters of the Gulf of America. We talked to some of the crews about their projections of what lies ahead.
You know, the water it's just super grassy, so hopefully we can find some fishable water close and, you know, get on the board quick while everybody else is still running. Hopefully we can have a good showing on this one, and, you know, it works out to our advantage that we're kind of all the way to the east here, and hopefully quicker runs and, you know, like I said, get on the board quick.
We've been, you know, stumping our head for a few weeks. Something's going on. What is it? We had driven over a ton of fish. We marked a ton of fish, and they all went the opposite way of the boat. So we knew something was wrong, something wasn't right. You know, a couple of them you think, hey, it's just they're not hungry, they're not eating, but eventually, and then, you know, we watched people catch fish on side of us in multiple tournaments. So we had the idea of let's stick a camera underwater and see, you know, if we see something in a prop, but also, you know, those cameras we use have very good sound quality, especially underwater. So we said we could see if we can hear a difference between the engines. So when we did that, I think it was the end of day 2, so we only had 1 day left. We stuck a camera under the water and, you know, obviously heard an issue with one of the engines, loud squealing sound. So we knew that was our issue. So, you know, immediately we emailed the boatyard Saunders and said, hey, we're coming to see you Monday to get this taken care of before our next tournament. And we, the next day we trolled on the opposite engine with 1 engine, and in an hour we got 3 bites. So, you know, it makes us feel confident, at least we knew what the issue was. And so we got the deal addressed and went out last week, and, you know, we caught a blue and a white and had a couple other shots. The teaser bites right behind the boat. So very happy to think we got that behind us. There is fishing close to here, and normally we are as far east as we go in the Gulf, so it is a further run to the normal fishing grounds. Typically, there's really good fishing closer to here, but with all the rain in Louisiana and the other things and the storm, it kind of messed the water up. So there's a huge pocket of green water that's not normally there. So you either have to commit and go really close, or you have to go really far. So, you know, it just depends what people do, what they pick. You know, we might all do both, you know, who knows and what mechanism. But I think if you see people catching fish early and people not catching fish, it may be they chose to go somewhere different. But if the people who chose to go somewhere different, they don't catch them early, they may be in trouble for the boats that did go far. So it's just, you know, it's a strategy. You got to pick what you want to do. Everybody's probably got a different opinion, and, you know, who knows what the best is.
So while we were out there, all the reports were showing that we had dirty water getting pushed out of the Mississippi from that storm last week. And it pushed a lot further than they expected. So there's going to be some long runs this tournament. The sargassum is just insane right now. So much, in fact, sometimes we can't even pull our dredges. You know, we're pulling anything that's grassless. I forget the name of the site, but they were showing a huge mat coming into the Gulf. It was like 3 miles by 3 miles wide.
That is called a supermat. Superman. You know, when you hear these guys talk about everything they need to endure and go through to get to these grounds, to get the fish to bite, it's so much work. And what I love from Toby is the fact that they determined what it was, because you could get really down thinking, oh man, the boat is not raising fish, and the whole season you have no idea what it is. But again, immediately figuring out what it was, getting it taken care of, and right back to fishing. And that's really how the good teams, the great teams, get to the top of the leaderboard. And, you know, when you hear from Danny Watts, you hear, you know, the weed situation is real. I mean, you cannot. I went fishing the other day and I was catching weed about every minute or 2 minutes, and I'd have everything covered with weed. If you don't have somebody on every rod, you're just basically handcuffing yourself. I was doing it by myself. I got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and my wife was busy with them. So I'm clearing all the baits and fixing them, setting them back out. And the second you set them back out, you're in the weeds again. So it becomes very difficult, but that's where the fish are. So it's a necessary evil, and it's arduous, to say the least.
A lot of problems for several of our teams, again, whether it be the cutlass bearing and making that howl that Louisiana Canyons didn't want to hear, hitting something with the Gulf Coast Cowboys. Then you have the Mississippi Blues. Since they took off at 10 o'clock, we have not seen them put down. lines have not went in the water once. So they're making that long run to what they think is blue marlin territory. And they didn't have any difficulties. Well, there's a big, massive mat. And look at the water change there.
Well,
that was
one
perfect.
Side, yeah, one side can be really weedy. On the other side of them, on that weed line, and that's what I did. I went on the one side, I ran past it to see if I find any fish and bait. So I ran for about 2 or 3 miles, and on the inside was the cleaner spot where the weed was kind of packed in tight. So I trolled the cleaner spot, thinking it was cleaner, yet I got weed every freaking second.
Yeah.
It was a killer.
I was thinking about this team, though, making that run, and it was cool to see the change there accidentally. But this team isn't working with any issues of like broken parts or anything necessarily, but the preparation it took getting to this. I mean, we're talking last second, first day of the tournament going into Gulfport, and we caught up with Adam Davidson earlier and asked about some of the things that they still hadn't had done yet.
To be fishing again is great. You know, that was our first time to get to go fishing was the last tournament since I think last August. So there was a lot of things. Obviously, when you go take the boat and spend in the boatyard for 7 months, you know, there's a lot of things that just when a boat sits, it's going to have issues. But we put new engines in it, new generators, and the engines are bigger than the old ones. So there was, you know, anytime you go retrofit something, it doesn't fit just exactly how you thought. So yeah, they had to cut this whole entire bulkhead out of the boat, take all the salon, all the couches out, and then the engines come out of the hatches in the floor of the salon. So everything was ripped out of the boat. That was cut out. They have little cranes that come and take the old engines out, put the new ones in. So that was what we were doing for 7 months, and it's just a ton of stuff. We put new trim tabs, new struts, new shafts, of course, new rudders, new props, new engines, new generators, and then in addition, since we already had the salon out, we went ahead and changed it a little bit. Then we added a bunk room as well downstairs. So quite a bit of stuff. We did pretty well here. 2 years ago, we finished third overall in catch and release. So last year we did not do so well. Kind of stunk it up. I think we only caught 1 white marlin, so we definitely want some redemption. And but it's a tough field. I think it's 90-something boats in this tournament, so it's the biggest tournament on the Gulf, and so it's going to be some pretty stiff competition.
It's a big deal when you got to bust out another 1,000. But in this case, it's bust out another 10,000, B-O-A-T, bust out another 1,000, B-O-A-T boats.
Another 100,000.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's an expensive sport. You can't be thinking about those kind of expenses. You got to get it done. And these guys fish so many tournaments in the Gulf, it becomes a weekly event for them. The summer, they wait for the summer for this to go down. And there's a lot of things you need to get done on the boat to make it just right. And you can see that they caught a lot of fish right after they had the refit and they completed everything a few weeks back. They were raising the fish, catch the fish, and it was pretty great. And that's got to feel super good after you do all that work, all that money, all that time, and you get it done right in the nick of time to get on those fish.
And these teams, these angling clubs representing each one of these crews. Last year's Fort Walton winner was the Mississippi Blues. Right now they're looking for their first fish, but until they get to those fishing grounds, they can't put that bait in the water. We do have 3 angling clubs out there currently fishing right now, looking for their first fish for a couple of them, looking for their second fish for the Texas Lone Stars.
I'm David Blackbird with the Texas Lone Stars, and you're watching SFC on ESPN.
Discover heart-racing adventures, breathtaking views, and one-of-a-kind experiences that can only be found through the SFC Experience on Guidesley and Guidesley Pro. Go to sfcexperiences.com to find your next outdoor experience. And I'm here to tell you, going to Guidesley, you can get hooked up with the right crew, the right everything. The possibilities are limitless, because we know what a good fishery the Gulf of America is. And yes, this is the furthest east we are going to travel as far as the Gulf proper. We were in Miami for the first Gulf event of the year. But whether you go from, say we're at Panama City Beach now, to where we'll finish this season in the Gulf in Port Aransas, a lot of opportunities. I know I've fished there, you fished there, and it's not just billfish as well. There's a lot of big fish, a lot of good fish to be had.
Oh yeah, the inshore fishery is really, really good. Redfish, fishing along the beaches for cobia, and you got your red snapper and all kinds of great eating bottom fish, a grouper. I mean, it's a great spot to go, and the food is so good there due to that great fishery that you can't miss, and the beaches are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I know I went out with my buddy Scott Luster, and yeah, it could be snapper fishing. If you want to catch shark, there's out there. I saw even as we get to Texas, I think a record might have been broke, a bluefin. How big was your big bluefin, like 600 something?
No, it was 800 and then close to 900.
Hey, so they caught one about that big in the Gulf, but you don't think of bluefin tuna, you know, that TV show where they're catching them on the New England, and I do hear that catch alert. That would be a hookup alert. Is that Garrett?
It looks like Garrett. Yeah, they're making a little turn there. Fish is taking drag right now. He's gaining on a little bit.
There's happening live. Garrett Frazier aboard the Third Coast Renegades. Again, this is one of the teams that had been running, but yeah, they have had their lines in the water for a bit.
He's reeling quite a bit.
Maybe a fish off in the, or a boat off in the distance, not too far away.
Oh, there's probably a fish off in the distance off the end of the line. That's for sure.
That is what. And being one of about 90 boats, it will get a little more crowded. You got to have some big elbows. For you motorcycle road racing fans, Ben Spees. And with seeing multiple lines, it looks like he's still trying to get hooked up too. Did they see something else?
That fish is it's definitely taking a bunch of line.
Look at that big left.
Closing that gap.
6 on board. Drake Sawyer, of course, captain. Justin Sparky Delasus, the first mate. Greg Beasley, Dusty Sousley. We're seeing Garrick on the rod and reel there, and Dylan Frazier, his son. Just takes that one to get that stink off the boat. You know that. Just get that skunk off. But yeah, when you're seeing him fingering the rod and reel there to the left, actually a couple of different lines looking for possibilities. Making that sweeping left-hand turn, trying to get more up in that spread. And oftentimes you get that multiple. The first guy that hooks up is the last one to get it up to the boat. Third Coast Renegades, the defending champions of the Gulf Division. Currently the points leaders after a first place and a third place in our first 2 stops, 2026. Well, they won 4 of our 6 tournaments last year. A different set of crew for the most part, but Drake Sawyer
they're
now
very focused on what they're doing, and they catch a lot of fish. And they travel all over the world doing it, and that makes you just better and better and better. See that bait coming in quick. It looks like he's maybe going to put it back up in the rigger. Can't tell.
Yeah, it's got those sail feels to it, but yeah, especially looking for those multiples like this. But
you get a case of the feels, Robbie?
I do. I got a feeling. Scoring system looks like this. If you have a blue marlin up to the boat, a qualified catch worth 450. Whites are worth 100 points. We will see another sale for sure before this week's over with. 75 points for those. That's why you see the Texas Lone Stars in the lead right now. So if this is a sale and Renegades get that 75 points, it would in effect put them in second, but tied for points.
And they're backing on it, going after it now. That fish pulled a lot of line. I mean, that's a formidable sailfish, if it is a sailfish. It didn't look like it based on the rod and based on everything that was happening, but the fact that they're getting it right now and going after it that quickly.
Don't you think also, though, with them having the other line in the water, though, they were trying to look for a multiple?
Whatever it is, Robbie, that's the leader
bad.
right there. Yep, it's a sail, all right.
You see it?
Yeah, I saw the door.
You're better than I am. I mean, you do have better peepers. Yeah, it's a sail. So that's good. That puts you in a tie for first, but we know that the Lone Stars are in the lead due to time. They caught that 75-point fish first.
There it is. All right.
Skinny Mini.
No problem.
No.
Blue marlin grounds.
Fun size is great.
Yeah, you got to start with an appetizer, you know, and get to the main course.
That's why also I think it might have been Justin there. 75 points, qualified catch has been confirmed. by our IGFTO. But yeah, making that swing around, you kind of had a feeling it could have been a sailfish and looking for more than one in that opportunity. Gulf Coast Cowboys, looks like somebody's back on board that boat, but we see the wrench still on the outside looking in, but maybe they're getting a little bit closer. They're hoping to get out by nighttime. Oh, that's Dino. I can tell he's pulling the choo-choo train whistle. Couldn't tell at first, but as soon as he did that, I knew it. They're wanting to get out there, and that just makes you sick because Brittany Marie, a new boat to them, their maiden SFC voyage, taking the title at the Gulfport, Mississippi Open a couple of weeks ago.
So now we're down to 3 boats fishing and 2 boats running.
And running hard, too. I don't know where the Blues are going, but I mean, they're going there fast, and they've been doing it from the get-go. It's very typical to see the Louisiana Canyons doing this. Toby Berthelot, they usually make the longest run, and it's paid off many, many times. Last year taking a victory, as I mentioned, at the first stop of the Gulf Division. We've got another 75 points on the board, Pete. The Bay Point Billfish Open is sponsored by One Water Yacht Group, No Rivals, Billfish Conservation Project, and by Exotic Outdoors. It's not just about fishing and catching, it's also about representing. Sarah Burt caught up with one of our community champions earlier today.
Hey guys, so this week I'm out here in Panama City Beach with Lauren from the Florida Panhandle Marine Institute. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having us today.
Of course, we're excited to be out here with you. Will you tell us a little bit about what you do with them and just about your program?
Sure. So we actually do sea turtle and marine mammal stranding response and rehab. For marine mammals, we cover the entire Panhandle from Alabama to the Big Bend. And for sea turtles, we cover the local counties here. We respond to them, rescue them, and we actually are fundraising right now. Our rehab center is temporarily closed down. We had to relocate. So while we can't do the rehab ourselves, we are transporting them to neighboring rehab facilities. I actually just helped with a rescue this morning, so the day got started nice and fun. But yeah, that's what we do.
Tell me a little bit about your rescue this morning. What are you rescuing?
Yep, so this morning we got a call that a subadult loggerhead sea turtle was hooked at the M.B. Miller County Pier. We work with code enforcement, beach safety, lifeguards, and they were working on grabbing the animal, getting it safely to the parking lot. I went and met them, and then we had one of our volunteers transport the animal to the rehab center once I did a basic, quick visual assessment.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Was he okay?
He was active, he or she, and the hook had been swallowed. So we made sure that he wasn't going to further injure himself with the gear, and then the veterinarian at the rehab center will do a further assessment.
And you brought us a bunch of cool stuff out here today. It's hooks, some line, and these are all, from my understanding, items that you've retrieved off of sea turtles and dolphins out here in your rescues?
Yep, all 3 of these are from sea turtles that were actually rescued and rehabilitated last year while our rehab center was still open. Kite here had just loose fishing gear that she most likely swam into and got entangled in. This was a quick turnaround turtle, didn't even get a name, it was so fast. And then this one was stuck on the bottom. So we do a lot. We also work with dolphins.
I love the dolphins. So you actually brought us this cool skull out here. And what are some of the importance of protecting the dolphins out here in our waters?
Oh, they're super important. They're top predators in their environment. So we actually had a massive die-off earlier this year in March. We had almost 30 animals in the month of March alone over in St. Joseph Bay. And by collecting the animals, having folks call us when they found them, we were able to take good necropsy samples, which is an exam after they die. And we can send those samples to labs for analyses. We were able to learn that most likely those animals were suffering from a red tide harmful algal bloom event. Yep.
Oh, wow.
They had a brevetoxin that potentially came from eating fish that had it. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But that's part of our job, is trying to figure out what's going on with these top predators, because they are indicators of the health of the ecosystem as a whole.
And if fishermen are out there on the waters and they come across an injured sea turtle or dolphin, what would their first steps be?
Absolutely. The very first thing is, in the state of Florida, you can contact the Florida Fish and Wildlife hotline. It's 1-888-404-3922. and then wait for further instructions. We ask questions, we want photos, and if you're willing to help us out, especially being on the water, we don't have a boat, so we like the help from the boaters.
Absolutely. And if people would like to support the Florida Panhandle Marine Institute, or you're rebuilding a new facility, if they would like to support you guys, make donations, how would they do that?
They can go to our website, www.floridapanhandlemarineinstitute.com. There's a donate link. You can learn about our current events. We're looking for $300,000 to get started. We've got just over $100,000 so far, so we still got a ways to go before we can rebuild.
Awesome. Well, we'll be on the lookout, and
thank you so much
for coming out here with us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I've always loved, the science behind the fishing and actually helping the environment. She talks about the toxins. It's a brevetoxin. It's a potent marine neurotoxin produced naturally by the dinoflagellate Carenia.
Oh, easy for you to
brevis during the red tide bloom. So it just goes to show you that these fishermen are not one-trick ponies. They do science. They do mechanical work. They are athletes. They do a little bit of everything, social media, marketing. It's a little bit of everything. But I don't think they can get on the World Cup field and kick a goal, score a goal. I'm pretty sure.
Can't do that.
You got to limit it somehow.
Watch a little bit of that. Looking at the Mississippi Blues on a long run. We're also looking, which one's this? The Louisiana Canyons with the bladder back at the stern. Look. That is fuel, boys and girls. That is hundreds of gallons of fuel, of diesel fuel.
It's not a waterbed, Robbie,
no.
Like you had in college.
And a lot of money is sitting right there. A lot of money they're trying to win, but they are looking for a long distance run. You have to have that added fuel. There's hundreds of gallons on board, period. But when you have to have hundreds and hundreds of additional gallons, you know that they're in for a long time.
And I want to say that they're running at a pace in which they're most fuel efficient, but it really looks like they're ripping it right now. They're trying to get to where they want to get to, and I don't think they're worrying about it because they know they have their bladder there, and it's a 2-day event as opposed to a 2.5-day event as opposed to a 3-day.
And there's what they do. They can pull from that bladder into the tanks of the boat, and you want to get rid of what's on deck first because that's the shop, that's the office, that's what you're going to be working around. So they knew that they're going to run at least that much down.
And a question I've always wanted to ask the guys, because I've never done the bladder deal, taking those long range trips. We've been in center consoles doing that and coming back sometimes the same day or just sleeping out. We've had enough fuel to do it. When they're packaging it and they're sucking the air out of it and they fold it up and they go to put it into the sleeve so they can store them, I mean, how much diesel fuel are they getting on their hands, on their body, and whatever? I always wonder about that because then when you go to handle a bait, it could be a little funky. So I imagine they have a whole ritual, a whole deal where they go through, all right, wear gloves or wash this off, change your shirt, because you don't want to put a big bonita against your waist when your shirt has fuel on it and then pitch that over. Marlin come up and you sniff that out in a second and be like, I'll stick to the other restaurant.
And look at this too, with think of the ballast that thousands of pounds sitting on that port side, right? I got it right? Left side?
Yes, very good.
No pat on the back, I didn't get nothing. But think of the
I was
ballast.
just enjoying the moment. I was reveling. My young grasshopper has graduated. He's now catching the fly with his chopsticks.
Think of what it takes. But for them to have that there, and you see the fighting chair just next to it, they're going to run through this, and they're not pulling from this right now. So they might be, taking the stuff, and then they're going to have to dump it. So this all takes time. But when you see something like this and you know they're in for a long run.
You can catch bait with a bladder in the way and you can do things, but you definitely don't want to catch a big marlin with a bladder in the way. I'm sure it's been done many, many times, but they're going to wait till they probably get to the next spot. This is a big run. They're hauling butt. You can hear, the turbos kicked in. I mean, it really looks like they're ripping it, especially with that angle.
And
that was something.
And was there something on the other side, or get through that, or you run one straight across, the back of that transom there? A lot to look forward to. We saw some boats in that shotgun start. I saw them up on the front, on the nose. They were looking to level that boat out. But right now we've got 2 teams with 75-point fish on the board.
This is Captain Adam of the Mississippi Blues, and you're watching Sport Fish Championship live on ESPN.
Sign up for SFC's Championship Fish Divisions for the chance to win cash and be featured in our live broadcast. Represent your favorite angling club and compete across 4 categories of meat fish: the wahoo, the yellowfin tuna, the swordfish, the mahi-mahi. You can fish anytime, as many times as you want between now and September 7th to win. Go to sportfishingchampionship.com/championshipfish 2026 to sign up now. You can be a part of the SFC as well. A lot of these boats are probably out there in the water now, fishing, trying to catch the big blues. One of our boats, one of our 6 angling clubs not out on the water, the Gulf Coast Cowboys. Uh-oh, Rudy, you've got a special guest here with you. He's supposed to be fishing, not talking to you and I.
Thanks, Robbie. That's correct. This is Jordan Benefield of the Gulf Coast Cowboys. Jordan, I'm sure you'd rather be offshore right now, probably a couple 100 miles from a few hours of shotgun start. Tell us what went down.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're working our way on out to the shotgun start, and I believe we hit the bottom. And 4 out of the 5 blades are bent. We had a diver from here, a local guy from Panama City, come pull them off, and we took it to a mechanic shop down the road, probably about 35 minutes away. And as soon as we got there, they grabbed it off the back of the truck and got to work on it. So we're literally sitting on standby right now, waiting for them to call and go pick it up and get it thrown back on there.
Do you have a timetable of when you think you're going to get that call? Is it going to be a couple hours? Is it later this evening? When would that be?
So he thinks he couldn't give me a timeline when we were there, but he thinks he should have it by this evening. And the diver told me, he said, if we got to put it on in the dark, we'll put it on in the dark. So I'm hoping to get it. As long as we can leave the dock tonight at some point, I think we'll be good.
Now, if you're leaving tonight, that means you got a long run in the dark. Is that like nap time for Nick Becker and Kona Kyle? Because once you guys get to where you're going, no matter what time that is, they're going to start live baiting?
Oh, them boys are wide open all the time. I don't know if they ever need sleep. But no, they're in there resting right now, and we're, like I said, we're just kind of on standby, so everybody's just chilling and waiting for a phone call, really.
You get to check out the broadcast. You're over at the bar grabbing some lunch. You're seeing 2 sailfish on the board. Does it feel good at all knowing that there's not any blue marlin on the board among the SFC field, so you know once you get out there you have a chance?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I mean, just because I know there's a lot of good competition. I mean, Spencer and them, if they get on the fish, they're on them, you know, and Third Coast, just everybody. So not seeing a blue marlin on the board is very nice right now, but we're hoping to get out there and put some on the board. So,
are you still going to run as far as you were planning on doing it from the shotgun start, or this late start? Are you guys thinking about staying closer to home? You know, we'll find out what you guys do.
That's going to be up to Blake. I don't know. That's one of those that I sent you last week. That's a stay tuned and find out, I guess.
So now that we're in like round 3 of the Gulf Division, I think every time now I have to get one of those shrugs every single stop. Jordan, thank you for your time. Peter and Robbie, what they do next?
Yeah. Just like the emoji they sent you last week. He asked them if they moved last week, and he gave them that emoji. Well, they moved and got more blue marlin. They're hoping they get that opportunity. That's just a tough break for them. Thought he hit bottom. Just something not marked.
You said that multiple times. I'm pretty sure they know that they hit bottom, because you could feel that rumble, and you just got to pray that it's sand or it's mud or it's something to that effect. But it sounds like there was some rock down there, and it's a lot going down. So I mean, when you got 5 blades that are affected, that is rough. You know, it requires like precision straightening, welding, digital balancing. I mean, this is not just something, because if you don't do that, you can have drivetrain vibrations, you seal damage, you name it. A lot of things can go wrong, because you'll rattle something else loose and you'll break something else because your prop, your pitch, the blades aren't just finely tuned, and it can cause more problems. So you got to get it done right, and I believe if they don't get it done right, they'll test it, they won't go.
Yeah, and 2 props on this boat? Like, how do you just hit one and not the other?
It happens a lot. It's funny how that happens. We've ran on coral heads in the Bahamas. You can't see it. You'll be in hundreds of feet, and all of a sudden you're like, what was that? And you're right on top of a giant coral head that's popping up from 50 feet deep, and it's been 1 prop. But the key is, you know, and we learn from this again, you know, we talk about the 360 cams. We talk about the backups for the backups. Now you know you need props, backup props, but they're not easy to store. You need a big boat. You see what happens? They got a bigger boat, that's got a deeper draft, and now all of a sudden they tap the bottom in an area because, you know, you go into your spot for your big shotgun start. It's there's a lot of factors in everything they do. It's a science, man. You got to get it right. You can't just punch it and hope for the best and come back and hope you win.
That's true, and Blake Bridges is talking about what Blake decides to do. You got to think about him being new in this boat. I didn't really think about that with this boat possibly being heavier and deeper in the water, sitting in the water a little bit lower than maybe they were expecting.
A lot lower. They were in a 53 prior to this, and now they're in a 68.
Yeah.
So you kind of, you know, you have that moment, you've got the bottom, you have it mapped out, it looks like it's going to be okay, but something changed, you know?
Yeah.
Over the storms, pushing in the sandbars, pushing in different things, and, you know, you never know. You never know what's going to be there. So it's bad luck, but right now, there's been 5 sailfish caught in this big tournament of 86 to 90 boats. So there's plenty of time to get on the fish, and it could be one of those things where they get it fixed up, they race out there, and they get right on the fish.
Remember our race to that Zane and Grey Championship playoff of that hunt? Gulf Coast Cowboys, after starting the year with a 5th place, taking the victory, currently sits 2nd, so they are the bubble team. And Texas Lone Stars, who are the leader right now, behind them in points, only 300 points, and that's the difference between, say, 2nd and 3rd in an individual event. Again, you get points for every place that you finish. The higher you finish, the more points you get. We've got about an hour left in our ESPN coverage of day 1. And it was a late start for our teams today, where in the Gulfport, Mississippi Open, they took off the day prior. They could have lines in the water at midnight and start fishing right off the bat. And we saw it right at daybreak. We saw it all the way till the end. Here, they couldn't even take off from the launch until 10 o'clock. And now that they're out there fishing, we're hoping we get that little sounder telling us that they've got a fish hooked up. Again, we've got 6 angling clubs looking for the title here. It's the 3rd stop of the Gulf Division of Sport Fishing Championship. Haven't seen the rising suns cruising around that slow in quite some time. The Bay Point Billfish Open presented by Legendary Marine. It's the first day of 3. What do you think they're catching off of that pier? Because that is a very nice pier. If you're not going to be on the Ferris wheel, you might as well get out there and catch your fish, right?
That's a great spot for cobia right there. They get some ling. They call them ling. They call them chocolate bars, and very good eating. Great fights, and very spiky on the dorsal fins. You got to be a little careful. They'll tear you up.
Those fish will come to you, and if not, you make that run all the way down. Did you ever do any of the pier fishing and stuff like that? Did you have the net on the end of the line?
No, I never had the net. I never caught anything big enough that required a net. I would just reel it right up to the top and juice it through the guides. My dad would be like, "Stop reeling, Peter. You're there," and the mouth would be over top of the first guide.
Yeah, it's been a tough start to this event. One of our teams is actually shore-bound. The other 5 out there fishing and trying to catch. But, I mean, it's been a mechanical week so far. And what's crazy is leading into this tournament, half our field were like dry docked for a bit, just trying to take care of the problems.
Man, they push these boats so hard for these events, and they run so far and wide and long to get these things done. When they're backing down, they're flying in reverse, trying to get that leader touch for the 450, man. They put a lot of stress on these boats. So then all of a sudden, you got it all figured out, you take care of things, and then on your way out, when everything's just right, you wind up tapping bottom and touching bottom a little bit, but it was more than just touch because 5 blades were affected on the Gulf Coast Cowboys, and then you got to find the right person to be able to take them off, take them down the road, to get worked on, pop them back on and go. I mean, it is arduous. I've used that word before, but that's what I feel when I see that. It's many thousands of dollars to fix these props. It's got to be done just right. And if it's not done right, it's going to affect other parts of the boat, the shaft, the rattling, the vibrations. It can affect a ton of things. So you got to get it done right, and you got to be sure it's right before you go out there and really push it.
I wish I could explain to you just how out of balance that prop probably is going to be when they do go to put it on there, because I don't know that they have the time to make it perfect. Looking at our No Rivals live leaderboard right now, we have 2 teams with qualified catches, the Texas Lone Stars and the Third Coast Renegades, each with a sailfish to their credit. We still have teams making the longer runs. But as when, we heard Rudy, asking Jordan there, he says, it make you feel good that it's only a couple of 75-point fish being caught, because if you catch a blue or two by this time, you're just seeing the distance and just going like, I don't know if I can catch up. It's like a touchdown or a 2-touchdown or a 3-touchdown lead. You get to a certain point, you're going like, I don't know if I can do it.
It seems insurmountable at times, but it's been done. We've seen it. We've seen the last-minute heroics. We've seen people score big, but this is the Lone Stars from their 12:36 p.m. release. Got Richter on the left there, already tight.
This is what kicked off the tournament for this team, for all of our teams, for that matter, first of the tournament. And then in the big picture, there's 90 boats out there fishing this Bay Point Billfish Open, and this is the first team with a hookup.
And they were about 2+ hours running, and they stopped and put them out there. Water looks pretty nice. It has a blue hue to it. They're definitely not fishing green water. They must have seen something that looked attractive to them, whether it was birds or bait raining on the surface, or just pulling it back and taking a look with a sonar.
Brian Richter on the rod and reel there, and again, multiple lines out of the water. When you know it's a sail, and there's generally multitudes of sails around there, Roberto and Raul look like they're, that's out there.
And they got to start to wind, as you see when they finally get everything squared away and they go to back. Everybody's got to bring everything in. That's the moment where everyone goes to work. They reel as fast as they can, but you want to keep those baits wiggling. You want them out there as long as you can. Sometimes it's going to be in a right rigger or left rigger, and maybe there'll be one flat, but you can't keep everything out there while you're going after this one fish, especially when you back up, unless you're going up to the bow and you want to troll one off the bow if the bite's hot. And if it's not hot, actually, that's even a better time to do it, because you may get just that second fish, that money added, that value added 2-for-1 special.
You see the vegetation in the water. You can look into the water, you see a little bit of a green hue. That's some of that vegetation. You talked about those weed lines and some of that different water and how they set up to these fish. It sucks. If you're an angler and you're running through that and it catches a hook and makes your bait run weird, it sucks. You got to reel it back in, redeploy, get things going. But it's also where the fish are.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil. You got to be in it sometimes, and that's really, unfortunately, what we're experiencing this year. It's one of the worst blooms that we had, and the sargassum is taking over, and it's not getting any better at this point. The hot summer months, they grow rapidly, and then they break off and they make their way here depending on the winds, but you can't avoid it.
Yeah,
this time of year.
You go, I know you're in Miami, you're seeing it there, and it's not even usually prevalent there, but the Mayan Riviera is just loaded with it right now. I know you were there a couple of weeks ago and you saw that firsthand.
My daughter, Emily, she just got to the Dominican Republic, and she said it's so bad you can't imagine. And there's just so many people and so many vehicles that can scoop it up, put it somewhere, and then they'll burn it somewhere, because it's really toxic to breathe in once everything in it dies. When it's out there, it is. I took my wife and Maverick and Eve out fishing the other day in Miami, and I grabbed some weed and I shook it out just to show them, filled with microscopic shrimp and crab, like full. So you know that the mahi and the jacks, they're all going in there eating and pecking away. And then I filleted some of the mahi, and you see baby flying fish about 1/2 inch to 1 inch long, with these kind of thick foreheads and these little baby wings, and you just see what is living in there. Sargasso flying fish, regular flying fish, unicorn filefish, little baby triggers, but ooh, that was a nice one. That was a nice dorsal flare up right there. He's flaring up. Yeah. Ric Flair. Woo!
There's a touch of the leader, the rat. Don't pop it off. We've already identified that it is a sailfish, no doubter.
Oh, we're trying to get one last piece of calamari before they get released.
Yeah, did you see that though? That was going to say, there's our teaser look. That was our first of the squid chain. Imitating squid. It looks like, was that orange or pink?
It looked pink.
Pink? Okay. Yeah.
Pink's always a staple. The pinks, the blues,
Sweet.
Green, black, green.
I do think that's big though. If you get that right color, maybe it's just the bass fishing that I come from where color can make a difference. I think that
It really does. They'll key in, and then all of a sudden they won't. and then you'll change it and they'll key in on something else. And sometimes you gotta just get the hum. You gotta, you know, get lucky with it too. You know, a lot of that boils down to a little luck at the right time. You have a certain, like a flippy floppy, they call it, on one side, and you'll have a regular squids on the other side on your teaser chain, and the flippy floppy won't get anything, and then the regular squids will. And then the afternoon, it'll be opposite. Slow down the speeds, get the right cadence, get the baits dropping down the face of the waves just right, no tumbling, you know, no flopping off the top of the wave and making it messy out there. You want it nice and clean.
And the speed, too, at which they're presented. I mean, these fish can go way faster than that boat can, right? I mean,
the marlin is swimming, 50, 60 miles an hour, sailfish 70 miles an hour. So people often say, when you post like dredge footage, we're going 7 knots.
You're pulling it away from
We're going 7 knots, and the fish is just paddling one paddle as we're cruising there. Why don't you slow down so you can catch them? I'm like, well, we already caught that fish later on in the video, which we didn't film because we had them on the dredge cam, but those fish can catch pretty much anything they want. The mahi for them, very difficult unless it's a really thick school of mahi, because they'll come up and swat it, deaden it, numb it, or land on it, pounce it, and then eat it. But other than that, I mean, their favorites are the tunas and, all kinds of tunas, the skipjack, the bonitas, the blackfin, the yellowfin, the rainbow runners. Mahi, they love them, but not as easy to catch.
There's a dredge. Oh, a lot of squid on that one.
Super squid.
Yeah.
They got Squidward.
The big squids, yeah. So we saw the squid chain where they're like one after another in a straight line. That's a dredge there, led by a nice big
we got mylar around the top of the squids, a little blue and shiny, like foil-like mylar, a little extra shimmer there.
They're getting ready to go somewhere, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pulling in.
So there's the squid chain to the right that he's pulling in. That's a dredge. It's like an umbrella. If you were to take the canvas or the covering off your umbrella and you see all those little arms, well, there's 2 or 3 times as many, and there's a bait attached to each one. And sometimes you can have a little love, have some real action on there, and you talk about how they'll just get that taste. Like crack cocaine.
It's well, that is. The crack kills, Robbie. Don't forget that. I think it's also really good to, before you make that run, prepare. Get ready while you're not falling down. You punch it, get everything back in position. Bring your rigger clips down. You got your dredge in. You're going to be ready to deploy everything. And sometimes those are 3-stage dredges. You've got 3 sets going out there. But they're cleaning up. They're getting ready.
Do you know the one thing we haven't seen, although I did see a boat in the back, we have not seen one drill ship, one rig, one platform, and that kind of surprised me so far. That's the structure these guys will generally be hanging around, and it's not just one, it's not 6 boats. There's about 90 boats out there heading to these platforms, trying to find that right platform, which is going to get them hooked up with that blue marlin. The Bay Point Billfish Open is sponsored by the Coast Guard Foundation, Cross Chartering Yacht Transport, official transport partner of SFC, Throne Sport Coffee, and by the Nature Conservancy, conserving the land and waters on which all life depends. Back it up, Terry. Hopefully they'll be backing up into some blue marlin here shortly, and we mentioned when we were looking at Louisiana canyons and that fuel bladder, now it's time to put it in the typical fuel tanks of that vessel. So they're getting closer, Peter, but it's been a long ride up to this point, and if you ask Toby Berth a lot, there's been a lot to do since we saw him last, but they're looking forward to this week.
We've been, stumping our head for a few weeks. Something's going on. What is it? We had driven over a ton of fish. We marked a ton of fish, and they all went the opposite way of the boat. So we knew something was wrong, something wasn't right. A couple of them you think, hey, it's just they're not hungry, they're not eating, but eventually, and then, we watch people catch fish on side of us in multiple tournaments. So we had the idea of let's stick a camera underwater and see, if we see something in a prop, but also, those cameras we use have very good sound quality, especially underwater. So we said we could see if we can hear a difference between the engines. So when we did that, I think it was the end of day 2, so we only had 1 day left. We stuck a camera under the water and, obviously heard an issue with one of the engines, loud squealing sound. So we knew that was our issue. So, immediately we emailed the boatyard Saunders and said, hey, we're coming to see you Monday to get this taken care of before our next tournament. And the next day we trolled on the opposite engine with one engine, and in an hour we got 3 bites. So, it makes us feel confident. At least we knew what the issue was. And so we got the deal addressed and went out last week, and we caught a blue and a white and had a couple other shots. The teaser bites right behind the boat. So very happy to think we got that behind us. There is fishing close to here, and normally we are as far east as we go in the Gulf, so it is a further run to the normal fishing grounds. Typically, there's really good fishing closer to here, but with all the rain in Louisiana and the other things and the storm, it kind of messed the water up. So there's a huge pocket of green water that's not normally there. So you either have to commit and go really close, or you have to go really far. So, it just depends what people do, what they pick. We might all do both, who knows and what mechanism. But I think if you see people catching fish early and people not catching fish, it may be they chose to go somewhere different. But if the people who chose to go somewhere different, they don't catch them early, they may be in trouble for the boats that did go far. So it's just, it's a strategy. You got to pick what you want to do. Everybody's probably got a different opinion, and, who knows what the best is.
Well, we hear again and again from Toby how they're trying to fix what wasn't working and going to one engine, trying trolling, with one or other of the engines and putting the camera in to hear the acoustics, to hear what the problem was. And all of a sudden, they started to narrow down and pinpoint what was causing the fish to kind of turn away from the boat. When you're marking fish on the sonar and you get them up in the spread and they don't eat and they turn off and they veer off, you got a big problem, and that is the last thing you want when you're investing this time, effort, and money. So to pull it out of the water, get it fixed up and right back out there, and everything is fixed and they're ready to fish. That's got to feel really good. It just goes to show you, don't sleep on it. Don't wait. Get it done, get it fixed. It's expensive, yes, but it's more expensive to get out there and break down when you're way out there and not get any bites.
I'm thinking it's almost like them looking at the graph and seeing these fish. It's kind of like pulling up to an emergency exit at a hotel, right? You see that emergency exit, oh, look at that exit. What happens if you press this door? And then the siren goes off. It drives you in like, why did I do that? Well, they're doing the same thing. They say, oh, what's this? Oh, God, that's horrible sounding. Like, I don't want to be around this. And that's kind of what they've been dealing with. But
and that brings us to the thing about acoustics and how important it is to have the right hum, the right sound, the right vibration in a good way to raise those fish. And some boats are just much better at raising fish. They just have that hum. And, if you have a boat like that, you don't want to get rid of it. You might keep that boat and keep fixing it and repairing it and resetting it up for many, many years to come.
Who else? Who do you think of? I mean, you're sitting there saying this, I got a smile on my face. The Brittany Marie, Gulf Coast Cowboys, who's sitting there at the dock, had that sound. It was only their second tournament. They caught fish right when they put it in the water for the very first time, right? That Paul Mann. First tournament, they catch 6 blue marlin. The rest of the field only caught 5 out of the other 5 boats. They had that sound. But now that you knock that prop into nobody's business, they're not going to have the same sound. That's a fact. There's no way they can get that exact same pitch out of that prop with it being as beat up as it was.
You're right, and I'm not sure it was the prop that was giving that funky sound that we talked to. We talked to the captain, Blake. He was saying, I said, man, you guys crushed it, the Cowboys. And he was saying, I said, everything's going great. You must have the hum. He goes, well, there's a sound we were trying to get rid of, but it wasn't the prop at that point because this prop thing was a new issue which happened today where they touched the bottom on the way to the start, the shotgun start.
Well, with more on the Gulf Coast Cowboys, let's go to Rudy Tamarchio. Rudy, man on the scene. Do you have more of an update for these guys?
Absolutely do, Robbie and Peter. So I spoke with Jordan Benefield just a couple of minutes ago, and what they're telling me is that the prop is going to be ready to go by 5 p.m. local time. Okay. So they're going to make a run. They're going to leave about 4:30, take some 30 minutes to get to the facility. And while they're getting that work done, they're also having work for their bow thruster. That's going to be taken care of before they run out. They're hoping to be underway sometime around 7 p.m. I can actually see their boat from my vantage point here at the remote desk. I see Blake Bridges and Jordan up in the bridge. Looks like they're plotting their strategy. They're looking at a couple things on their navigation. So we'll see what they do, but they should be pushing off here about 7 p.m. and we'll be here to see it when it happens.
Rudy, refresh our memory or my memory. Was it both props or did they have to just send the one prop to get fixed?
just a singular prop. They have a 5-bladed prop, and 4 of the 5 blades were bent, so it's only that one. Thankfully for them, it's only the one. I can only imagine the work taking longer if they had to have both props taken out.
Yeah, and that's kind of, that must be like hitting a rock. You know, some of these props are like $100,000 for a set. More standard prop might be about 40 to 50 grand per set, and then having spares, I mean, that's a big deal. So you might have 200 grand in props on the boat. So it's a big deal. I think it's also a big deal that they were able to get it fixed and worked on.
Peter's talked about it too, Rudy, that, you know, you're talking about a multi-million-dollar boat getting ready to go out with a prop that's close. Close can do a lot of damage. You know, if it's slightly out of balance or whatever, and they're going to, you know, beat that thing, get the, you know, the torch out, try and get it as good as possible, but to get it properly balanced and everything could take much longer than that. They don't have that time. Are they trying to just get it as close as they can right now?
Honestly, I think that the different services that you have here in PCB, in Panama City Beach, and also what they have over in Orange Beach, they've got some great machinists here, so they can get it pretty close. I don't know if they have the hardware in terms of how they like free spool it. You know, like when you're watching a tire shop and they balance it and they have all the equipment to do that pretty easily. I'm wondering if these machinists have something similar to where they can get it down to the exact smoothest that they need to, because you're right. Any slight difference, any deviation affects their vibration. It can affect the acoustics of the boat. So these guys are experts. They definitely put their faith in their hands. So once they get that thing ready, I'm sure it's gonna be ready to go full send.
So we're hoping for good vibrations only.
I see what you did there.
What do you think the chances that Brian Kelly's going to have a song written for either himself or Florida Georgia Line about a broken prop? I'm like, there's got to be one out there, bud. There's got to be.
Oh, I can imagine it's like, what, in the yard in the morning and on the blues in the evening. There's something there. I'm sure once it happens, they'll do it, because if you follow his music, you see so many Easter eggs of what his lifestyle has been, his experiences. You know, I bought a boat, Queen of 30A. There's so many different nods to his life and his adventures. So it's really cool to see if there's ever a lyric that we find out that happened on SFC programming.
Thanks a lot, Rudy Tamarchio, man on the scene there with the Brittany Marie, a.k.a. the boat that will be representing the Gulf Coast Cowboys, the winner of the last stop in Gulfport, Mississippi. So we're seeing 5 boats, 3 of the 5 running, couple of them out there fishing. We got 2 fish on the board with still plenty of time, plenty of days still to come. Zane and Grey Championship playoffs will return to Cabo, and there's no better place to host it than at Corazon Cabo Resort and Spa. Located in the heart of Cabo San Lucas, Corazon Cabo offers incredible views, luxury accommodations, and direct access to one of the best sport fishing destinations in the world. Travel packages begin rolling out this July, so start planning now and join us for an unforgettable championship experience in Cabo.
Robbie, we had such a great time there, and we got to meet the owner of this resort, and he happens to be quite the fisherman, really into it, and that's why his dad went there. His dad called him when he was back in the States. He said, son, you got to come down here and check out this Cabo fishery. I think we need to put a hotel down here. And he said, okay, I'll be down there in a minute.
You
and
saw
they were
that?
out there in Pangas catching striped marlin all day long, and they said, let's build it, and they will come. It was like the field of dreams.
That pie-shaped facility you saw in the middle of that resort location, it is a perfect spot, looking right out on Los Arcos right there. Great job, great facility. We'll see if the Texas Lone Stars can go back-to-back Zane and Grey Championship playoff winners, holding that Zane and Grey Championship trophy. Right now they're in the lead of this event, but they're not in the top 2 in the Gulf Division. They're currently sitting in 3rd behind the Third Coast Renegades and Gulf Coast Cowboys, but Gulf Coast Cowboys on the shore, Peter, not able to go out until later on this evening.
Well, you know, the bite is definitely not fast and furious. Right now, there's about 7 fish on the board for 90 boats, and 2 of our boats out of our 6 teams have 2 of those 7. So it just goes to show you that the bite is not fast and furious, and they're not missing much at this point. Yes, granted, these guys are homing in on what they need to do and where the fish are, and they're getting intel and they're seeing other boats. but there's not a lot to see right now because there's not a lot of fish being caught. So there's 1 blue marlin and there's 6 sailfish out of 85 to 90 boats.
Well, earlier this year in media days, Rudy Tamarco was able to catch up with a couple of these wingnuts on the Third Coast Renegades and just find out a little bit more about them as they're looking for their first blue marlin of this tournament.
3 of the 4 champion captains are from the state of Texas.
Yeah.
What is it about the state and what is it about the fishing there that just seems to breed champions?
I would say just the competitiveness, you know. I think the sport in general is super competitive, but you know, you got a close proximity, you got a small town. It's kind of the heart and soul of that community, and you know, everyone's jockeying for that top position. There's plenty of tournaments around there to be competitive. It might not have the number of zeros and the dollar amount that some of these bigger tournaments, like you know, the Big Rock or the White Marlin Open or even Bisbee's, but it's just as competitive, you know. A lot of those tournaments are 40, 50, 60 boats, but all very sharp, very competitive boats. So I don't know, it's maybe it's the ego, maybe it's just yeah, that grit that you got to have being from Texas. We call it Gulf-born grit, and that's what it takes, having that grit.
Gulf-born grit being the theme of the 2026 season. Third Coast Renegades defending Gulf Division champions, second place Zane and Grey Championship playoffs. Garrett, Dylan, Frazier, thanks for your time.
Yes,
Best
sir.
of luck
Thank
this year.
you.
Thanks, Rudy. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
You know, when I watched that, Robbie, and I watched the father-son dynamic there, which I absolutely love. I've been doing that, and you've been doing that, you know, since we had children. But the intensity in their eyes is like second to none. I mean, they're sitting there in an interview, and they look like they're hunting. They're looking at Rudy like, I think there's a bird in your hair, and we're taking that one home with us. I'm telling you, they have a great intensity, yet they're super cool and chill, and they're able to you know, hunt and fish and enjoy and surf, and they're doing incredible work with their videography and their production companies and their clothing. I mean, it's like, it's endless what they're doing, and they compete at a very, very high level. And
when I refer to them as a couple of wingnuts, I mean that in the most endearing way, and fellow Texans.
So you can see, Robbie, in this scenario here, prior to this moment, their interview, we were watching the dredge coming in, and we could see the angler. I can't tell exactly who it is. Was in the corner there, winding a bait. It looks like it is. Who could it be there? Is it
Justin or Drake?
I'm not really sure, but they're getting after it for sure, and they were trying to feed a fish. It looked like they were back there. Dredge came in. He was out there trying to put the rod off to the left to try to get it to happen.
Also, they're making that move or that turn as well. He's looking at his watch. You got plenty of time. Citizen lines out. It's not until 8 o'clock, and that's what's going to be weird too with this tournament. There is no say lines out. That just you have to be checked in by 8 o'clock. If things start getting interesting, and we're only a sailfish away. I mean, think about it. When we go off air at say 4 o'clock Central time, there's still 4 hours of fishing left for these guys to make it official. So make sure you go to sportfishingchampionship.com to find out our official results. But if it's really, really close, you're going to see those guys fishing till the last hour and a half before they make that run, because we know fish have been caught today 2 hours away.
Yeah, and it's great to be able to watch this scene, and if we're able to see it unfold into something, but just the fact that we know that he's holding that rod, and they just had a fish up on the spread, and they're waiting, and the water looks beautiful, great color, working that area. You know they're seeing the fish on the sonar at this moment, so it's kind of like nerves, excitement, hoping that it comes up, and they're just everybody. I mean, your eyes, if you could monitor the amount of eye movements in a fisherman's sockets, it would be absolutely incredible. You talk about the trim tabs I have on my boat, the Seakeeper rides, they're moving about 1,000 beats per minute.
Yeah.
You know, and that's exactly what I think happens here.
Something crazy about that Seakeeper ride you were telling me during break is you could be running full tilt boogie and 1,000 beats per minute. Those things are keeping you straight, but when it gets rough and it's slow, it does the same thing just as well. Welcome back to Panama City Beach, Florida. The Bay Point Billfish Open presented by Legendary Marine. 6 angling clubs with a chance at this title. We're part of the bigger Bay Point Billfish Open, so there's about 90 total SFC teams. We are 6 of those. That's the ones that we're concerned with and paying points. You look at that big picture, though, Metal Masher, I think they have the only blue marlin, you mentioned that, of the tournament.
And it was a release, it wasn't kept.
Right.
We know that was release points.
Led by last year's golf champion captain, Landon Bell.
Yep, there's a lot of closeness here.
Yeah, and so
these tournaments, a lot of captains moving around from boat to boat and teams
yes.
and crews. Yep.
And it's happened throughout the season and seasons. Now that they're representing angling clubs, every team, you know, their captains are like free agents unless they've signed them a contract for, you know, a few years. But you look at it. We saw switches between Louisiana Canyons and Mississippi Blues this year. Adam McGugan won an event for Third Coast Renegades last year. Mississippi Blues last year won an event, but now that's the Louisiana Canyons team. You want to find somebody like Spencer Johnson, Texas Lone Stars, take the title, hold on to him for as long as you possibly can with that success.
Yeah, they're all great captains, and then sometimes it gets down to where, you know, you might have an owner say, hey, I'm going to pay you so much more per year, but, you know, we don't really have a great team. You know, we may not, we're probably, you know, we're going to really try to get in the money, but it's going to be tricky. So honestly, you always want to work for the boat that's paying you well, treats you well, you have a great relationship with, and hopefully they're going to be tournament-winning teams and they have a great crew. And when you look at the Renegades there, earlier I said I didn't know who that was. I believe that's Kyle Coker. He's in from Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Yeah, I believe he's...
Is he on that boat? He's on the Gulf Coast Cowboys. Yeah.
And I can't get... I'm having trouble. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Conan Cowell was part of that duo.
Yeah,
that was...
You're right. I'm getting twisted up. I'm looking at so many screens right now.
You spun your prop.
My head just popped
Your cutlass bearing was having issues.
Oh, man, I think I just bent the prop.
Yeah, but another thing, when Mark Neifeld was in the studio a couple of weeks ago, mentioned about the expansion with different, you know, more angling clubs and the opportunity, you know, for more possibilities out of these. That brings me to another point, and Greg Trenner, right? I mean, we saw Greg catching blue marlin after blue marlin. His boat, the Bougie Marlin, also. Maybe he's a possibility to come back into the mix, a guy that we love seeing throughout the years. They've been doing really well. I know representing their clothing line.
Yeah, very high quality. High quality issue. You know, Robbie, as we look at a lot of these scenes coming in and out of commercial breaks, you saw that Panama City Tower.
Yeah.
I had someone ask me the other day, they said, you know, Peter, what's the deal with a water tower? Like, why? You know, it's basically the higher it goes, the gravity, it's creating water pressure, and it ensures reliable flow at a massive PSI. And that is why we have these water towers high in the sky. And they have pumps on them as well at the bottom to crank it out.
Kind of like me after a six-pack, you're guaranteed a certain PSI.
That's right. Yep. That's why you sit on the aisle and you sit close to the head.
Speaking of that, let's go to break. See if somebody can catch a billfish here in the Gulf Division. We've seen a couple of attempts by the Third Coast Renegades. They're still holding on to that tie for the lead. Break.
I'm Spencer Johnson, captain of the Texas Lone Stars, and you're watching Sport Fishing Championship on ESPN.
Be sure to join us as the hunt for the Zane and Grey Championship playoffs continues in 3 weeks as the Atlantic Division resumes competition at the Cape Cod Invitational. Coverage begins Friday, July 17th. You can join us from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern right here on the SFC YouTube channel, as well as ESPN Plus. Looking forward to that one. Heading back to the ATL, where we're at the halfway point. The New Jersey Seabirds leading on that side of the pond. Exotic in the hunt. Third Coast Renegades leading on this side. This will be our halfway point after this event. We've already done 2 of 6 down south of Miami and Key West, Florida, and the Gulfport, Mississippi Open. So this will be the halfway point. We're already seeing some difficulties with that team currently in second, still dockside. Second half of the schedule, what does it look like as we move from the waters of the eastern portion of the Gulf? We'll be back in Texas August 14th. We'll be at Hurricane Hole down there at the Mississippi Delta. Mobile Big Game Fishing Club Labor Day Invitational September 4th through 6th. Who's going to take that title? Will it be back-to-back for Third Coast Renegades? What do you think? I mean, they're in the lead now, Peter. They're in the lead in this tournament, Peter.
You can't count any of these teams out, Robbie. They're all so good. It's just a question of mechanics, the bite, raising the fish, getting tight on them. Everything has to gel. It has to come together perfectly to get the win.
Execution as well, and remember, it doesn't take winning the Gulf to win the Zane and Grey Championship playoff. Our winner last year, the Texas Lone Star, snuck in that final spot, and they proved that they were the best when it came Cabo San Lucas time in October. And we'll be back there at Corazon Cabo Resort.
By the way, the owner of Corazon Cabo is Chris Erickson.
Yep, great guy.
And he fishes in Laredo, which is up
Loretto, yeah, Loretto. Up there.
And they get those yellowtail, the kind the sushi rig, which you have in sushi restaurants. That's the yellowtail. Everyone thinks yellowtail is the yellowtail snapper from, the South Florida waters.
No,
this is the Pacific yellowtail.
So yeah, Loretto is another, I think it's almost like the next Cabo, right? It's up there near Mag Bay. It's just a couple-hour drive going from east to west. So if you're in the Sea of Cortez here at Loretto, you want to make a left-hand turn, you can go hit Mag Bay. Well, you and I need to do that. Now we could make a heck of an uncharted water.
He's got a boat there.
He said,
yep,
we need to
100%.
We should do that sometime.
He's done his work. He's created his resort. He's got a great team running it, and he's got some time on his hands to be able to go do something like that once in a while.
Let's do it. I'd be the third wheel there because both of you are accomplished fishermen.
Well, I tell you, it's jig. They're using jigs. And they're dropping them down.
Oh,
so
I know
it's kind
that.
of a jig situation.
I can catch a crappie.
Yeah, I know you can.
I can catch a crappie.
You've been jigging a long time.
I can do that. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get jiggy with it with one of our teams at least. And if you're wondering, are they just have this on loop with the Mississippi Blues? No, that's not the case. But as far out that you run, you still have to come back too come Sunday. But that's why I was wondering if, say, the Blues didn't want to fish closer, maybe possibly catch something, then make that run overnight.
It's such a tough call, Robbie. Ultimately, you want to be in the blue marlin grounds, right?
Yeah.
You want to get somewhere where you're happy and content. However, you see some of the boats, they already started fishing and then they picked up and they ran again, and then they're back to back to fishing again. So they're jockeying positions, and right now sailfish, if you look at the tournament, there's 1 marlin release and 6 sailfish release out of 85 to 90 boats. So 7 billfish release, and 2 of our teams are in that top 6.
And what's the other process too? I can make this long run. I'm not fishing during this long run, but when I get to the waters I think that the blue marlin are at, I can fish till the sun sets. And we often see that last bite of the day, you can only get 1 bite today. And if it's the right bite, it was worth it.
Yeah, always worth it. Always worth it. Keep those worms wiggling as long as you can, and once they turn off, you spend the night cooking, getting more bait, having a drink maybe, and trying to catch maybe a fun fish, for the championship divisions. The mahi, you catch those at night, they'll come up to the boat in the lights, swords, wahoo, tunas. Gulf is full.
But again, the possibilities, they're endless. That's why you have to join us all 3 days, and we'll pick back up again tomorrow on our YouTube channel, followed by ESPN. It's not just a one-day tournament. This is a 3-day event, and we're just getting started. The beautiful Emerald Coast, Panama City Beach, Florida, vacation paradise. Bring the family out here, enjoy the blue-green waters, the white sandy beaches, nice resorts up and down the coast here. The Gulf, the Riviera of the Gulf of America, if you will. Some call it the Redneck Riviera, but that would, my redneck buddies would disapprove of that. Looking at all 6 of our angling clubs and what they're doing, you can see the upper left, one team not doing well at all. They touched ground, and when you're an ocean-going vessel and you strike the ground, it usually affects the props, and that's exactly what happened with the Gulf Coast Cowboys. Supposed to have it in another couple of hours ready to possibly go back out into the waters. We've seen 2 catches today, the first with the Texas Lone Stars in the 12 o'clock hour. We've seen nothing but running, for the most part, from the Louisiana Canyons, but definitely the Mississippi Blues. Renegades also with a catch, and that's right when we came on air. And it looks like they're trying to get hooked up again, but oftentimes this is just making sure that their lines stay clear of that seaweed. But let's take a look back at earlier and how it went down. How did they get their sailfish, the second of the tournament? So somebody saw something, Peter, here. For him to pitch out on that starboard side, and he said, oh, no, that's not right. This is the one I need to do.
Yep, he's up on the right teaser.
Now coming down, probably our cameraman as well. See a boat off in the distance, a couple of boats off in the distance, and it looks like just open water. One thing we have not seen out of all of this is platforms or drill ships or oil rigs. This has all been open water stuff, probably dealing with some type of grass line or some type of differences out in the open water.
Of course, they've got their sonar, and you see someone jump up to do something, and then you see Garrett there. He's on that fish. We saw the beginning of what was to be Garrett's fish ultimately. Well, the mate turn, taking line, but he's also gaining a lot of line. But then all of a sudden, it starts to pull a little bit. It was a little confusing.
Well, the mate was still deployed too, though. So I mean, it was definitely a scene fish.
Oh yeah.
And trying to get more in the way.
Well, it came up on the left teaser. He pitched out there, and then it shot immediately over to the right teaser. So he kind of wanted to get everything going. You got 2 baits now next to the teasers, and it wound up eating the right side.
There are several boats that are in that background. We talked about
there's always going to be boats out there. Always a ton of boats.
One of about 90 that took off for this tournament. This tournament is its 4th year. They were doing it for a long time before, but a hurricane devastated, the marina in that area, so they had to drop off for a bit. I think after like 2010. Yeah, it was Hurricane Michael destroyed the marina. A lot of money on the line for these teams that possibly could bring in a fish, although everything with Sport Fishing Championship is catch and release. This is one of those tournaments where if they have one big, 110 inches, 115 inches, that they could possibly bring it in. Big fish have been caught. I think one was caught, how big was that, 600, 700 pound range last week?
780. I think they won close to about 500 grand.
The ECBC. Probably same waters, similar waters, with a catch and release, you don't want a big fish like that. You want to catch the fun size.
That's right. That's not what we were seeing a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Out of Brian Kelly on the Cowboys. We're seeing some jumbos going by. 400 or 500 pounders.
So here, when you see Garrett Frazier with a fish on, you still see. Yeah, now they're bringing it in. You still see the possible opportunity of getting that double.
There's generally always another fish cruising around. It's very rare to have a solo fish just doing his own thing. They like to hunt in packs, especially when it comes to sailfish.
Yeah, because that sail on their back is like a corralling device, right? If there's a ball of bait fish or whatever, it's much easier with a little wolf pack of.
Yeah, it scares him into confined area. You know, it balls them up, like you say, pushes them up to the surface, and then they can come up and just whack them and
rip through,
chomp them down.
We just saw the squid colored there being green. We saw earlier, what was it, the Texas Lone Stars with the pinks.
All right, Robbie, I'm gonna get it right this time.
Yeah, what is it?
The mate with the beard.
Yeah.
In the left-hand corner, the Renegades.
Yeah.
Sparky.
That is Sparky, okay. So Justin De La Souce, first mate. We didn't get our little deal. Hi, my name's Sparky. I'm first mate for the Third Coast Renegades. We didn't get
Does he
that
have
deal.
to talk like that?
Well, I don't know. It just sounded like if he were to talk, if he was a cartoon character, that's what he sounded like.
I mean, that could be very Italian. It could be very Italian.
I'm Sparky. There's a qualified catch, and you saw. If you're in that open water, we were expecting vegetation. We did see vegetation in the shot. And then we see the sailfish right there.
75 points the easy way.
There it is. Whee!
That's a nice size sail. That was like yours, Robbie.
Mine was way bigger than that.
Yours is a lot closer to the water. No, yours was big. Yours was about a 100-pounder. It's jumbo.
I'd love to catch it. That was one of my favorite fishing memories. And they got it in hours quicker than me.
Yep, 2 hours and 30 minutes quicker than you.
Self-deprecation, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, granted, yours was on 16-pound test on a spinner with light drag.
And my first ever billfish, so it is good.
And it was during a TV show.
Yeah.
You know, 3 cameras, chase boats, and a drone.
That's the one I did not want to let get away. I like bottom right, though. I want to see some big rods in real action. I want to see Marty Likes to Party with the big blue marlin possibility out there. There are a lot of possibilities this division of the Gulf. The Bay Point Billfish Open is sponsored by Anetic, Corazon Cabo Resort and Spa, official host resort of the Zane and Grey Championship playoffs. By Merrick Custom Fabrications. And by Kokua, custom branded premium merchandise from design to fulfillment. Sure, I put the right emphasis on the right syllable. Yeah, it was a kakua. I know the sound the bird makes. Thoughts on day one? I know it was a late start, so I didn't expect crazy things to happen because we knew they would have to make some long runs for these teams.
You know, it is a late start, and when we see this oftentimes in the Gulf, it's tricky. You know, you want to go out there and you want to find that good water, but it's not easy because it's so expansive and there's no boundary in this tournament. So then you have a boat that crushed it 2 weeks ago, the new Brittany Marie, the Gulf Coast Cowboys, and you know, first thing out this morning, right at the start, you know, they touched the rock probably with one of their props and they bent 5 blades. It's a 5-bladed prop. One of them was messed up, the other one wasn't. So you see things like that and you're like, oh my gosh, all this prep and it happens. But luckily, it happened early on in the game. The last thing you want is to be out there and you wrap into some rope or something nasty that you can't fix. But at least they're able to fix it. They're working on it right now and they're going to supposedly have their boat back in gear at about 5 p.m., 6 p.m. today to run out to the fishing grounds. But as of right now, there's only 8 billfish caught. There's 2 blue marlin and 6 sailfish out of the entire fleet of 86 to 90 boats. So the bite is not fast and furious. There's plenty of time to catch up.
Live leaderboard by No Rivals, a league of your own. Well, we've got 2 of our 6 teams with qualified catches, but 1 fish away. I mean, honestly, we say that typically, and you're looking at a 450 spread, but you catch a sail, then you're really in the hunt. And catching a sail earlier today, speaking of Brian Ricker of the Texas Lone Star Angling Club, the defending champs of the Zane and Grey Championship playoffs. I know you're looking forward to getting back, and you're well on your way if you can, you know, take the title here. I know you've got to be looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's nice to be fishing in the middle of the summer. It was nice to catch a fish earlier. We got some decent water to fish right now. It's blue, and we can fish a couple rigger baits, so we're happy. Weather's calm. It's nice out here.
Nice job. It's nice to see the front of your face. We're so used to seeing you from the back there winding on fish, and we're like, oh, that's Richter. He's on another one. So it's great to see you here on the interview. Congrats on that fish. Did you happen to have other fish up in the spread today? Have you marked any other fish around you today?
When I did get that bite, we got a bite maybe 15 seconds earlier on the other rigger. Got about a half a bait back, and then I was fishing the left, just kind of fishing it, put it a little farther back, and the fish came up and ate and fed it. We hooked it up. So maybe it was the same fish. Other than that, we had one chicken dolphin, and we haven't raised any other billfish. We're trolling around. We've moved a couple times, kind of back in the same area we were earlier, because it's a little easier to fish in here with the grass, and there's a little bit of a temperature break. So something to be hopeful for, you know. Maybe try to scratch out another 1 or 2 or 3 before the end of the day, you know, keep going.
You've kind of alluded to it. We saw that vegetation. Now you're saying that there's a temperature break. How much of a run, or did you go to the spot, your first spot, and get this fish? Because it looked like you had that game plan of let's try and get some of these sails. Let's try and get some of these close fish first.
Yeah, we had a spot we wanted to go to, probably 90 or 100 miles out, and then we stopped inshore where we could find some water just along an edge, and that's where we caught that fish. Then we went farther offshore, fished it for a little while, and then we're kind of moving back in and kind of picking up, moving around, and see where we can fish and trying to find fish.
Do you guys think that you may make some radical moves this evening to go to a different area, or do you think you're going to kind of stick it out where you are?
I don't know about radical just yet. We've still got 4 hours to fish, so we'll see where we end up with. You know, we don't have any bites in here. Maybe we'll try to figure out somewhere else to go. Probably not too crazy. Too crazy to be the other side of the Gulf, so probably stay over here on this side where we are and just kind of keep moving around and fishing and hope, you know, we get around some fish, you know, and keep picking away at them.
Well, good luck, brother. Congratulations on that first catch. You're in a tie for the lead, but we know you got that on time as well. The best team for 2026, Texas Lone Stars. Brian Richter trying to catch not a sailfish, but a blue marlin next time up. All right, Peter.
Appreciate it, guys.
You got it. Good luck. Go get him.
Daddy got to get back to work, and there you see it, their game plan. I like that. I thought, you know, early on, let's just try and catch some of these close fish, and it sounded like they were really close on getting that one.
Yeah, and the fact is that there's only 8 billfish caught with this many boats. It just goes to show you, as I was saying it, I'm like, are you going to make any radical moves? It was almost like I had the answer already, man. Of course he's not.
Yeah.
Where am I going to make the radical move to? Is there a bite going on somewhere else that someone knows about?
Yeah.
Maybe, but right now with 80, 90 boats, there's no radical move needed because there's not a lot going on. So maybe if the guys stick it out where they are making these little moves, nothing radical, you know, maybe they'll capitalize on some bites.
But Brian, Spencer Johnson, they know that they're not going to win this tournament by catching a sailfish or 2. It's going to take catching a big. They're going to have to make that move, go into that deeper water, and they'll have that opportunity to do so. How far do they run? About 90 boats took off at 10 o'clock this morning. They don't even have to be back until Sunday.
And you see how spread out they are, Robbie. You see how spread out they are. That was a really nice start. No one gets in your way. You get out to the grounds.
Yeah, we got a fighter jet. We got some fighting billfish out there as well. We'll be back at it again tomorrow, 2 Eastern on YouTube, followed by ESPN. For Peter, I'm Robbie. We'll see you then.